I'm a big hiker. I was doing some hiking in Utah during a cross-country trip I was taking after breaking up with who I thought was going to be my fiancé. Long story short, I caught her messing around with one of my closest friends. Total betrayal on both sides. I was 31. Utah was actually one of the states I was most excited about passing through. There are some great forests out there that I think every hiker would dream of exploring. I had picked Uinta Wasatch Cache National Forest as my Utah destination because I had heard a lot of great things about it. One of its biggest upsides for me was that it had a lot of secluded areas that I could easily access. I prefer hiking alone, so bustling hiking trails swarming with people aren't really my thing. I picked an unnamed area of the forest and drove my car as far down this narrow access road as I could. I parked, stepped out of my car, and took in my surroundings. I geared up and checked my phone. No service, just the way I like it. I made a mental note of my starting point and began the trek. I know hiking alone in uncharted territory is dangerous, but I don't think I have as much fun following a designated route. I always download the digital map of whatever location I'm planning to explore. A lot of people don't realize that your phone's GPS still functions without service. I know what you're probably thinking, but no, I didn't get lost. I wish I could tell you that that's what the story is about. The reality of what happened to me is something I'm still trying to wrap my head around. My destination was a ridge overlook about 4 miles up the mountain. The terrain was brutal, so I was only making about a mile per hour. 2 hours in, thick fog rolled in from nowhere. I hate hiking in fog. Visibility drops to nothing and it's dangerous as hell. Frustrated, I turned around and started heading back to my car. When I finally saw my vehicle in the distance, relief washed over me. But as I got closer, that relief turned to pure terror. All 4 tires had been slashed, not punctured, deliberately cut with something sharp. My heart started pounding. This wasn't some random accident. Someone had done this on purpose. I spun around, scanning the forest in every direction. Nothing. The fog made it impossible to see more than 20 feet in any direction. I listened carefully, but could only hear the eerie silence that fog brings to a forest. Without cell service, I was screwed. I needed to get to higher ground where I might pick up a signal. Ironically, my original destination, that ridge overlook, was my only option now. I sure as hell wasn't walking 20 miles back down that access road where I'd be completely exposed. I turned back toward the woods and started hiking again. About halfway up, I heard something that made my blood run cold. Footsteps in the leaves behind me, maybe 60 yards back. They'd start when I started walking, stop when I stopped. Someone was definitely following me. I picked up my pace. The fog was getting thicker and the sun was setting, casting everything in this sickly gray light. After putting some distance between me and whoever was back there, I risked a quick look over my shoulder. Couldn't see anything, but that almost made it worse. Finally reached the ridge. Miracle of miracles. I had 2 bars of service. I immediately called 911, told them exactly where my car was, explained about the slashed tires and that I was being stalked. Also mentioned I had AAA. At least now someone knew where I was, but I still had to get back through that fog-covered forest in the dark while avoiding whoever was hunting me. Going straight back was suicide. Too predictable. I decided to take a wide loop, come at my car from a different angle. Things seemed okay for a while. Then I heard a stick break to my left. Looked, but saw nothing through the fog. Minutes later, another sound from behind me. That's when it hit me. There wasn't just one person out there. There were multiple. I started jogging. That's when I stumbled onto something that ramped my panic from a 5 to a 10. A campsite hidden in the trees. Sleeping bags arranged around a dead fire, tarps strung between trees. Someone had been living out here. I jogged past it, glancing back constantly. A few minutes later, I caught a glimpse of movement to my right. Just a shadow disappearing behind a tree. That was it. I broke into a full sprint. The sounds behind me got louder. They weren't hiding anymore. I could hear at least 3 or 4 people crashing through the underbrush chasing me. When I finally looked back, I saw them clearly through a gap in the fog. 4 figures in dark clothing, running hard after me. The next few minutes were the most terrifying of my life. Running full speed through fog-covered forest while exhausted, knowing your life depends on not slowing down. Finally, saw my car and a police cruiser behind it. I reached the cop car and nearly collapsed. Turned around, my pursuers had vanished like ghosts in the fog. The officer had already called a tow truck. When I gave my statement, he told me something chilling. Apparently, this particular area has a history of transient camps and survivalist groups. The fog makes it perfect for people who don't want to be found. He said I'd probably stumbled onto one of their camps, and they saw me as a threat. I still think about this years later. If they just wanted me gone, why not confront me directly? Why the psychological games with stalking and chasing? That experience still haunts me. I'm not going to call myself an expert hiker, but I've been doing this for decades. I've hit most major trails in America and visited over 70% of our national parks. To keep things interesting, I've started exploring unmarked forests I find on Google Maps. It's unconventional, but the thrill is worth the risk, or so I thought. I carry homemade trail markers, bright orange tape I tie to branches so I don't get lost. I remove them on my way back out so I don't. Litter simple system that makes getting lost nearly impossible. My next target was Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts, an area known for paranormal activity and unexplained disappearances. I don't buy into supernatural stuff, but the remote location appealed to me. Plus, being from New England, it wasn't a long drive. Entered the woods around noon to ensure plenty of daylight. First thing I noticed was how quiet it was. Not normal forest quiet, dead quiet. You don't realize how much ambient noise forests usually have until it's completely absent, like being in a soundproof room. I'd experienced this before in other forests, so I kept going, placing my orange markers as I walked. Kept expecting to hear a bird or see some sign of wildlife, but there was nothing. The silence was so complete it was actually unnerving. Just as I was getting used to the quiet, I heard something that brought all the unease rushing back. A low humming sound, almost like chanting. It was the only sound in the entire forest, which made it 10 times creepier. I stopped and listened, trying to figure out what it could be. Definitely not natural, too rhythmic, too deliberate. Sounded almost human, but not quite. I decided it was probably some kind of machinery, even though that made no sense out here. Walked away from it until the humming faded. Told myself if one more weird thing happened, I was out of there. That's when I saw them, symbols carved into trees. Not initials or normal graffiti, but strange geometric patterns cut deep into the bark. Started looking around and saw the same markings on tree after tree, like some kind of trail system. That was enough. I turned around and started following my orange markers back out. But after a while, I noticed something wrong. There was a large boulder ahead of me that I definitely hadn't seen before. No way I would have missed something that big. Then it hit me. My markers were at knee height, not chest height where I'd placed them. Someone had moved every single one, leading me deeper into the woods toward that boulder. I panicked and ran back the way I came, looking over my shoulder constantly. How had someone tracked me and moved all my markers without me noticing? Without those trail markers, I was basically lost. Pulled out my phone and miraculously had signal. Found my car on GPS. Wasn't far. Signal died immediately, but I knew which direction to go. That's when the humming started again, twice as loud as before. Sounded like it was right behind me, but every time I turned around, nothing was there. Ran harder than I had in years until I finally reached the forest edge. The humming stopped abruptly the moment I hit the tree line, jumped in my car, and got out of there fast. My rational explanation? Some survivalist or hermit lives in those woods, noticed me, tracked me, moved my markers to lead me toward that boulder for who knows what purpose. The humming was probably some kind of device or call they were using, but I can't explain how they moved all those markers without me seeing or hearing them. Maybe there's a reason that area has such a dark reputation. When I was younger, my house was the ultimate hangout spot. Dad's basement man cave had unlimited beer, and my parents left us kids alone. Our big property backed onto woods that led to a dirt road, and across that was the old quarry, my childhood sanctuary. I'd cut so many holes in the fence over the years that the company stopped bothering to fix them. Technically trespassing, but it was perfect for thinking, smoking, escaping parents, or even swimming. That's the one thing I miss from those days. One afternoon, my friends, Devin, Kyle, Marcus, and Tyler, and I were shooting pool in the basement when Devin suggested hiking to the quarry. Bored and with daylight left, we agreed. The quarry was massive beyond the fence. We usually chilled on the near side cliff, but we decided to explore the far side, walking the entire oval edge, about 25 minutes. Things turned weird fast. From the far side, Tyler pointed across the water. Way down at the deep end, a dark figure moved toward the edge, dragging something heavy, a bulky black tarp bundle. We'd heard about bodies found there before, so excitement soured to terror. It looked like they were hauling a corpse. The figure knelt by the water, fiddling with something unseen from afar. We figured we'd slip away while distracted, but Devin spotted more. 2 figures from the woods dragging similar bundles, and a third with what seemed an outboard motor. Living near a crime-ridden city, gang hits weren't far-fetched. Nausea hit me hard. The first guy attached the motor to a small boat, loaded a bundle with help, and motored to the middle. We watched it sink. He returned for the second. Then my phone rang, loud in the silence. I fumbled to silence it, too late. The 3 men froze, heads snapping our way. We bolted. The quarry's magic shattered. Kyle yelled they were chasing. Running the edge and near dark was nightmare fuel. We looped back, dashed through woods to the fence. Panic blurred the hole's location. I reached it first, searching frantically as the others piled up. Kyle found it yards away. Helping Marcus through, gravel footsteps closed in. They were right behind. We sprinted nonstop to my backyard. Tyler called cops immediately, spilling everything. They promised a car. Officers searched, finding muddy boot prints to our fence. Not ours. Why climb it? No one hid on site, but they vowed updates and delivered. Days later, divers pulled 2 bodies. Huge news. We were petrified. Killers knew our home. Mom swore she saw lurkers in woods for months, even camera flashes. That spurred our move. No arrests ever. Recently, a news story hit. Another body in that quarry. Memories flooded back. Cursed depths hide horrors still.